Hello, and welcome back to another episode of This Is What I Do If. My name's Sue McLachlan, and I'm from the Unicorn Advisory. And today we're going to be talking about what you would do if you're running a membership and you wanted to close the membership down. Maybe it's something you've been running for a while. Maybe you started it and you're just not sure if it is the right thing for you. At this time of year, there is a very big membership program launching, if it's maybe even already launched, I'm not sure. But it gets a lot of people talking about memberships, and it gets a lot of people talking about starting memberships, which is awesome. A membership is a fantastic digital product. It is a great way to get recurring revenue in your business. And despite having closed my own membership, I still love memberships, and I think they are a fantastic tool and a great way to build a sustainable business. However, when you start a membership, most people don't think about, well, what would I do if it didn't work, if I didn't want to keep doing this? Because a membership is a much bigger commitment than other digital products. It generally doesn't have an end. Most courses, a lot of coaching programs, especially smaller digital products like templates and workshops and mini courses, things like that, you create it and then you move into the work of selling it. But with a membership, not only do you have to be doing some kind of deliverable each month, we'll have a talk about, some of the options of ways that you can structure a membership, but you've also got to be selling it. And it can take a lot of energy, and it can take a lot more energy than you realize, especially after the honeymoon period of those first few months when you're like, yes, I've started it. This is so cool. My members are loving it. When that may fade and you are left going, okay, I have this thing. What is it going to be? Where is it going to be in my business? Do I want to keep going? So this one's a little bit close to my heart because I actually ran a membership called Unicorn Heroes. It is a Kajabi support membership. I started it in 2020, April 2020, so 5 years ago. And in January this year, I made the decision to close it down. Now, that was a really freaking hard decision, I'll be honest. And I thought I would go into some of the things that went into that decision, let you know some of my thinking behind it, what led me to that decision, that place, and just talk about memberships in general and some things that you might want to consider, and some things that you might want to consider when actually shutting it down if you decide to go down that path in terms of the actual logistics and what you would do in shutting it down. There's some things I probably would have done differently. I don't know if I did it in the best way. So yeah, I'm going to be sharing the story of the membership, some things for you to consider around memberships, the place that they fit into your business, profitability of memberships, because it's quite different to profitability of other digital products. And if you've got any questions as I'm going through, please do let me know. So as I mentioned, Unicorn Heroes started in May 2020. I did a founding members launch with Stu McLaren, as so many people do, back when it was called Tribe, his program. I think it's now called membership something, I'm not sure. Membership Experience, I think it is. And, that was a fantastic time. I don't want to say COVID was a good time. COVID was terrible. But at that time, there were a lot of people going online. And it was a bit of a kind of like my baby, this membership, because it was the first digital product that I created after I had decided to specialize in supporting people with Kajabi. Prior to that, I had been a more general small business coach, and I'd been really nervous about specializing in something so niche. And timing worked out, in my favor. And when I started that membership, it took off, and I loved it. I was like, hurrah, I can go into a membership and create training about Kajabi and answer people's Kajabi questions. My favorite thing to do as a super Kajabi nerd. And so as I was, setting that membership up, and it went beyond the founding members launch, and then made me wonder, all right, well, how am I going to structure this? The founding members launch is just getting it off the ground, like getting that sort of basic structure in place. And memberships, as incredible as they are something that is this living, breathing entity. And so will often change and evolve and grow over time. but they do need work to get people to be joining the membership. It is not a set and forget thing. You need to either have launch strategies and have an open and closed membership model where you only let new members come in at certain times of the year. Or if you have an always open model, if you want it to be successful, you need to have strategies to keep people coming in. People will, join. You will get people joining. You just won't get a lot of people joining if it's just kind of hanging out on your website. So, it's a strategy that often when you are actually running the membership, it can take a lot of energy to then do all that marketing alongside of it. So, there's no right or wrong way with doing an always open membership where people can join at any time and doing a closed door. Some people swear by closed doors and launches to build up hype and get people on the wait list between launches and things like that. And that can be effective because you can have a large group of people come in at once. You can potentially onboard them. But you've got to consider the impact on the community as well when there's this, group of people that are used to working together and then all of a sudden there's a heap of new people come in. It can change the balance of the community. But when you have this always open structure, you've got to be always selling. So just do bear that in mind. And it doesn't mean you actually selling. We spoke about this in a session a couple of days ago. It means that you need to have active sales strategies in place. Even if they are automated sales strategies, you've got to have something in place to be continually inviting members into your membership. Now, for the first 6 or 12 months, that can be okay. But after you run your membership for a number of years, for a lot of people, that can be really draining, especially if you don't adjust your prices. This is a trap that I fell into, and it's a trap that many people fall into. When you do a founding members launch of a membership, often you will make the price for that quite low because you want to validate your idea. You want to get people in the door. You want to have people that are going to stick around. So often a strategy is that you'll have that low pricing. Now, back in 2020, when I was, coming into this world and I decided to specialize in Kajabi, I've been supporting people with Kajabi for around a year. I've been using Kajabi for around a year. I started supporting people straight away, informally, in Digital Course Academy 2019. I was the resident Kajabi helper, which is what led me down this path. But back then I would sort of describe myself as a pretty decent Kajabi tech VA. However, a lot has changed between 2020 Sue and 2025 Sue. I am now a pretty gun strategist consultant. I work at a much higher level, and it stopped being about me teaching people how to do things in Kajabi. And a lot of the calls were around coaching and tech and strategy and all those things that was far beyond the scope of a founding members launch priced membership. Now, I was only charging $27 a month for my membership. Now, that is absolutely crazy. And, it's one of the things that I was considering when I was deciding, do I change the price or do I close it down? For that, people were getting a weekly call and able to, do that Q&A, and I was helping to answer questions and all of those kinds of things. But with the pricing strategy not really changing, I kind of got stuck in this procrastination loop of feeling like I had to improve it and make it better before I could put the price up. But then getting stuck with exactly what that was going to be, so then not putting the price up. Now, that went on for a really long time. I was like, oh, I need to get this. I don't know if it was a perfectionism thing, but I just really wanted to work out what was this ultimate structure. And at one point, I actually started building it out, and I was re-recording so many tutorials and got very jaded by it. I mean, I love recording, tutorials and teaching people, but I much prefer to do it live. And so when I was just recording tutorial after tutorial, I started to feel like a bit of a slog, and I started to feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, why am I doing this? And so I kind of went through this wavering, like, what do I actually want to do with this membership? And so I tried a whole lot of different things, tried different structures, tried different support structures, different types of support. I was offering Voxer support and like Zoom live call support and getting feedback from members about what they wanted. And I was, just doing that whole wavering thing. The price, though, I kept justifying it, going, well, this membership isn't something that I'm doing as a main profit generator in my business. When I first started it, yes, that was the goal, but I soon realized that this was something that fitted into my membership really well. It had a great place as the central hub for me being able to answer questions, because I would much rather prefer to answer a heap of questions on a live call. I do pretty well on live calls, and I can answer things off the cuff without having to prepare in advance because I know my stuff really, really well. So live calls were actually something that I found energized me rather than left me feeling drained. Even when they would go for like 2 or sometimes 3 hours, it was kind of like, all right, this is my time to be in Kajabi and business strategy answering mode. So I was like, hey, I can put all of my support into these calls. The Unicorn Heroes membership was also a key part of my Kajabi affiliate bonuses. So I'm one of the top Kajabi affiliates, and using that membership was a really great way to help people get started on Kajabi, because they have access to, a weekly call where they could ask questions as they were setting up. And a lot of people tend to have a lot more questions when they're first setting up. So it was a great way to support people who were signing up to Kajabi. So whilst I technically wasn't making money because it was a complimentary bonus, I was making money off the affiliate commission. So I kind of justified it that way. And also most of my high ticket clients came from that membership. So people who would get to know me, they liked my style, and then they're like, hey, can I, keep working with you? I'd love to have a one-on-one, or is there, something further that we can do in terms of projects, VIP days, those kinds of things. Almost all of those people came from the membership. So I was like, hey, this is this great nurturing, almost like a lead generation type of thing. So I justified again to myself that keeping the price low was a smart strategy. But it was not a smart strategy, because when I did an audit at the end of last year on all of my products and all of my services and all of the things that I was doing in my business to try and work out like what was the thing that was the most profitable, I was looking at the thing that had that really nice intersection between profitable that I loved doing, so I could, focus on what this, next generation of my business is going to look like. The membership was actually the least profitable thing that I was spending the most time on. And that, when I actually went through and did that audit, was a little bit of a like, oh, okay, so do I want to keep doing that? Like, do I want to, go down that path of doing something that isn't particularly profitable, takes a lot of my time and energy, or do I want to change things up? So my first thing was like, all right, well, what would it look like? Again, back to this procrastination cycle. If I charged more like $100 a month, like $97 instead of $27, or even $197, what would I do to make it worth that? So again, came up with some fantastic ideas. Honestly, the best ideas. And if I had built it out, I have no doubt this would have been epic. Of creating quests where you could go and do these little Kajabi missions and side quests and sort of make it more like a gamified process. And I was dead keen on that idea. Again, I started down the process of doing it, but then before I even had finished one, realized why I haven't done this before. This is an idea I've had a few times over the years. Because it just doesn't, again, fit into that thing where I really love being there live and showing up for people, and creating the quest was a lot of work. And also the other thing that was my biggest challenge is that I am teaching a software program that constantly changes. Like, one of these things that I was spending so much time on, and one of these reasons why I kept feeling like I had to improve it and do more and redo tutorials and things like that, is because I have hundreds of tutorials, and probably 300, 400 tutorials, something like that. And more than half of them are now showing Kajabi in a different form because it's changed the way it looks. Maybe things have changed around the position that they are. It could be hard for someone to find the thing that I'm showing them how to do because it's moved to a different menu, etc. And so I was like, okay, so if I want to do that, I'm going to have to keep updating and we have to keep going. Is that what I want to keep doing? Is that the thing that lights me up as I move into this next version of myself? And I pick these offers that, you know, really make me super happy to be doing what I'm doing. And it was tricky because the one part of it, the showing up live, love it. Absolutely. That's the thing that makes me the most happy, and super enjoyed it. Doing all the tutorials and creating that stuff, I like, but maybe don't love so much. So again, more procrastination when I was looking at the pricing, the profitability. I decided to try doing a once a month call instead of once a week call, because one of the reasons why I was starting to get, I'd say, a little burnt out on the calls, even though I loved them, is that I have been traveling a lot in the last 12 months. So I've always ran the calls at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. Perfect time. I experimented with, you know, different days and times over the years of running it. I used to run them at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday so I could get more of the US time zone. So we're talking Sydney time here. But I found that was too early, like doing 8 a.m., you know, it was a bit of a challenge to be really fresh and ready for the call. Tuesday was a bit early in the week because I, you know, Monday was sort of getting ready. And I found that Thursday was perfect. 9 a.m., great time. I was usually, you know, well awake, really, you know, ready to go and on fire for the calls. But in Malaysia and in Japan and Thailand, where I have been, those calls were at 6 a.m. So that means I have to be camera ready, so happy, like on, ready to answer questions, not sort of tired and sleepy by 6, which means getting up at least at 4. And I really struggled with it. I struggled to feel awake and ready to answer questions when it's still dark outside. And yeah, I think it was, you know, a small change. I could have swapped the hours and made it 9 a.m. in, say, Malaysia time. But 9 a.m. Malaysia time is already 9 p.m. on the East Coast in the US. And time zones, like when it is daylight savings time, can adjust that even further. So I just was like, no, I'll stick with the 9 a.m. Again, I could have changed it to suit myself better, but I wanted to make sure that I was being there for my members. And I think doing that every week just sort of got a little bit much. And so I decided to change it to monthly. And I was just about to send out the email saying, all right, there's going to be some changes. I'm going to be changing these calls. This is the last call that we're going to do weekly. Next, it's going to be monthly. And I just really just sat down and went, am I just changing to monthly to avoid the fact that I don't know if I want to keep doing this at all? I had that thought many, many times, like, is this what I want to be doing? You know, do I want to keep running the membership? I had wavered. Oh my gosh. Tracy Patterson, who is one of my biz besties, she's probably listened to me on so many boxes, and we've had so many chats with me. And she's like, "Are you going to change it? Are you going to change the price? Are you going to add things in? Are you going to shut it down? What are you going to do?" And it was just this very sudden realization at like 9 o'clock at night when I was getting the email ready to go out for the morning, like, I think I'm just changing it again as a way of procrastinating, because I think I said something like, oh, I'm going to be trying it out for 3 months and I'll make a decision at the end of April. And I realized that I was just putting off the decision. I didn't want to rip off the Band-Aid. I didn't want to offend anyone. I felt guilty, so guilty for letting people down. I knew that people had paid to be in the membership, and you know, I had paid with the expectation that I was going to support them. And, you know, I just felt this huge cloud of guilt over these $27 a month membership subscriptions. But I just went, all right, that's it. And sent the email, and I said, unfortunately, this is, you know, the membership. I've made the decision to close the membership down. You will have access to the end of April, but the live calls are ceasing immediately. And whilst I had a lot of guilt and I was like doing the, like, press send on that email, as soon as it sent, I just felt like this like sense of relief, which gave me the confirmation that I had done the right thing. I immediately, you know, refunded anyone who had paid for that month, and a couple of people had paid for the whole year. So I put those refunds through, let everyone keep access until the end of April so that they could go back and refer to, you know, all of the old calls and all of the helpful content and everything that was still in the membership. I mean, there was almost 5 years of content and live Q&As, and it was all loaded up into the Creator.io bot so people can ask questions and you know, get help for the resources they need. But I was just so like, oh, I need you to keep getting access to things. But yeah, that's the story behind it. So it was a case of trying to work out where it fitted into my business. It wasn't necessarily that it failed. It was that I just didn't know the place for it. And I wasn't sure on the place for it going forward. I spent most of 2024, honestly, trying to build and re-envisage this new awesome version. At one point, I was like, all right, all roads lead to the membership. This is going to be my core signature product. But when I really looked at the profitability side of that, it was going to be a hard slog to get it to match unless I significantly increased the price. And yeah, like I was stuck in that. Well, if I increase the price, I feel like I need to, increase what's in there. Do I want to do that? Or, it was all a lot of challenges. So I just wanted to go through that so you have a little bit of a backstory and give you some things to think about if you are in that position where you're like, oh, I'm starting a membership. How do I want to set it up for success? Or you're running a membership, you have been for a while. How can you reposition it for profitability? So one of the things that I would do going forward, if I was going to start a membership again, and spoiler alert, I am going to do a very small membership that will have one call per month, and that's it for $99 a year. So that's going to be starting soon because I still really love the calls, but I'm going to stop over delivering because that was part of the problem as well. I kept doing more and more, and it's okay to say, hey, this is what I offer. And that's what you're going to get. So in terms of the annual to monthly, like I think that's something really important to consider as well. Now, I was at the Kajabi Sessions event in Dubai in January, and Jen Blandos was talking about her pricing structure, and she went through this as well with her membership when she started. It was, I think, $47 a month, and then it went up to like $67 and then maybe $97. And they made the decision to just make it a straight annual membership for $1,500. And the monthly payments were not monthly membership fees. It was a monthly payment of an annual membership fee. So the commitment was 12 months. And she said it was one of the biggest differences in her membership that really got people to really buy in and, be part of the membership and not kind of dabble their toes and, not sort of join for a couple of months and then drop out because they're like, hey, I'm committing for a year. I'm in. All right, I'm going to do this thing with you. And, it was enabled them to be a lot more stable, like having the increased revenue enabled her to get team to help run the membership. So it took a little bit of pressure off her having to do everything. And it's the thing that has enabled them to scale because with memberships, in order for them to be profitable, you need numbers. Unless you are doing, a quite high ticket program in the multi-hundreds or even thousands of dollars per month, you need a lot of people in your membership. And it can be really, tempting to be like, oh, like I've got 5,000 people on my list. If I got, 2,000 of them to sign up for a membership, that would be amazing. You're not going to get 2,000 people to sign up for a membership as much as you would like. So if, you're working out your figures on what you're going to make each month based on numbers that are very, very difficult to attain unless you're spending a lot of energy and potentially money on advertising to get that visibility and to grow the audience, you got to be realistic about how many people that you are able to sustain. A membership can be fantastic when you have a bigger audience, but honestly, I think the push for people to start memberships when they have a very small audience can lead to a lot of these problems where you're doing a lot of work for not a lot of revenue at the same time as, trying to grow your audience to get more people in, and it can lead to a cycle of burnout. So I personally think that membership should be something that you introduce after your business is a little bit established. If you've already got an audience outside of your business, like you've already grown like a YouTube channel or, you've got a strong social media presence, maybe you have a decent size email list already, fantastic. But I think growing a membership from scratch when you don't yet have an audience, when you're starting and you're just learning digital products and you're learning marketing can be a bit of a, I don't want to say it's going to set you up for failure. I'm sure that people can do it and do it really well. But for most people, it's going to make it really difficult and it's going to make it a slog because you're learning a billion new things. You're trying to implement everything all over the place. The content you're trying to over deliver for your members and you're trying to grow your audience and launch and it can just be, a bit of a challenge. So be thinking and realistic about your membership growth goals, your monthly recurring revenue. What is it that you're realistically likely to to make out of it. Because if you're launching a membership for, say, $20 a month or $30 a month, and say you get, I don't know, 20 people at a $20 a month membership, that's $400 a month. That is fantastic. Hats off, like celebration. That is very, very good, but it's not sustainable in the long term if you can't grow that and significantly increase that revenue, because you need more money than that to be coming in to support you and support your membership. It's a fantastic start point, but unless you have a plan and a strategy for how to grow that, and you have the capacity to do it as well, like that's something to consider when you're starting a membership. So if it's something that you're keen to do, perhaps just push it, down the track a little bit. Do some things that are going to be able to generate you income without you having to show up all the time. And in terms of showing up all the time as well, like there are different types of membership structures. So consider that as well. So not all memberships need to involve you showing up all the time, and not all memberships need to involve you creating a heap of content every month or every quarter or whatever it is. It may be that you do some kind of a hybrid membership. Maybe your focus is on the community side of it and less on the content. I'm in a membership where the focus is pretty much mostly on the content in the form of a template that gets delivered out every week, which is a fantastic membership to run if you've got the volume to support it. So again, like if you're doing things like that and you don't have enough people in it, it can feel a little bit challenging to keep on showing up and delivering those things. But it could be that your membership, say, you're selling it as an annual thing, that it gives people access to, a core, one of your courses, some of your content, and you then support them through the community. So the work is in the community, and that may feel like a lighter lift because you're not continually having to do workshops and masterclasses and delivering assets and resources. So again, that's something that's really helpful after you've been in business for a while. Maybe you've got a program where you create that core curriculum, and instead of offering it as a course, you offer it as this program, this membership, where you get that ongoing support to implement the program, and that may feel like a lighter lift. So do things for you that feel like they're going to be sustainable in the long term. Set yourself a number of hours that you want to work on your community, and try and be really good about creating boundaries around that, so you don't end up burnt out. You could potentially end up feeling guilty because you're not doing as much as you want to or you said you were going to, or you could just end up sometimes even resenting the membership and resenting the members because you're like, oh, you're asking so much of me. And maybe they're not. Maybe you've just over-delivered and over-promised. And in terms of what is in your membership, like I've worked with a lot of people that have run memberships for multi-years, and you end up with so much content. And sometimes people just don't want more content. There's already plenty of content in there. They just want to path through the content. So again, be thinking about like, what can you do if you have been running a membership for a while, and maybe restructure how you run things. Maybe instead of doing new content, you create pathways for people to access the content easier. You resurface things. You make things about implementation rather than you creating new things for people to learn. Maybe it's that you have access and you just make it an async, like not live community, and you have the community aspect and encourage people to be communicating amongst themselves, and you show up at times that feels really good for you, and let people go through that content and give them those paths to go through it on their own. So there's definitely things to consider around the structure, and that is certainly something I would suggest do not fall into my trap and procrastinate over it to the point where it stops you from doing anything. Because I reckon probably almost 2 years of procrastinating over what to do, if I just made some decisions and go, all right, this is the path, instead of going, oh, I'm not sure what's more value, like what, it always seemed to, for me, I got caught in the trap of wanting to give more and do more to justify the purchase price, which that is a trap. Please stay away from that trap because it's just simply not true. Survey your members, find out what they believe is the most valuable aspect of your membership. What do they enjoy most? What would they hate if you decided to take it away? What are things that, they don't use? Like you can actually go through and say, hey, these are all the things that are in your membership. Which of them have you used? And the ones, the top 20 or the bottom 20% of things that aren't being used, take them out. Like you can make those adjustments and you can continue, but yes, Do not be Sue and do not get stuck in the procrastination loop of trying to decide what to change, then not changing anything. And then, slowly over time, potentially getting more and more burnt out. All right. So I hope that gives you some help and some ideas of things that you can do if you have run a membership. Let me know if this is something that you're doing. Are you deciding to restructure, to even start a membership at all? Like, memberships, I said, can be great. They have the right place, the right structure, and the right way of it suiting you and your energy is absolutely a fantastic thing to do. But also, you don't need to feel guilty if you want to stop doing something that is no longer working for you anymore. There were some people that reached out to me and said that they were really disappointed. And I've got to say, it did sting a little bit. And I did have that, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for letting you down. However, your business is about you, and you've got to, put yourself first. And if letting something like that go is going to open up the freedom for you to do more and to be more aligned with the types of things that you're doing, and, maybe it's just that you've been running your business for a while and you're moving in a different direction. There's so many reasons that don't necessarily mean that this membership that you're running is a failure. It just means that it's not the right thing for you right now, and that's okay. Or it may mean that you can do some restructuring, you can take some things out, you can look at your energy, your involvement. Definitely look at your pricing, see if you want to be adjusting the pricing or potentially change to an annual model or even a quarterly model to get people more invested. And that may be the case that when you make that change, you're like, okay, I now have more profit, which means I can get help, so I can just do the parts of it that I love. Maybe that's the thing that you need to do. So lots of food for thought. If you have scenarios of things that you would like me to cover on my This Is What I Would Do If series, please do let me know. Comment below. I have got loads of ideas. I'm going to be running this series over the next 30 or so days. And yeah, discussing things that come up, questions that you might have when you are running a creator business, places that you might get stuck. If you want to get on the list to get emailed when I am going live every day, as it is a different time each day, you can go to theunicornadvisory.com/this. You can also subscribe to the podcast from that page if you would prefer to get the podcast version. After each live stream, I will be putting up an audio version of the stream so you can listen along and multitask perhaps. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I will be back again tomorrow. And tomorrow, oh my gosh, brain freeze. What am I doing tomorrow? How to validate a new digital product idea. So this is what I'd do if I wanted to be sure that I was going to make sales for a new product. I'll be talking you through some of the things that I do when I'm launching a new product and different ways of getting validation so you can have the confidence to create your digital product and put it out there into the world, because that is the most important thing. Digital products are amazing. They can bring you revenue. They can help you have a freedom-filled lifestyle business only if you make them and only if you start selling them. So I'm going to go through some validation techniques that will help you feel more confident with selling. So I shall see you tomorrow. Sue from the Unicorn Advisory, signing out. Bye-bye.